We are racing in the Formula Winter Series for the second weekend. 1.3 seconds to left. It does get a mighty run outside of the final corner. Danny Sufi loses it into the first corner. We are underway and racing in the GT Winter Series, but already. Welcome back to Iberia, welcome back to Portimão, and welcome back to the GEDLICH Racing Winter Series. Our 2026 season starts here, and it starts with an all-GT racing festival. Our prototypes and our Formula cars are yet to come at future events, but this weekend, the GT Winter Series and the GT4 Winter Series are taking up the spotlight and putting on a show, and we start off with the big cars, with the GT Winter Series machines. We've got one race apiece on this Saturday for each championship. So we'll start off with half an hour for the GT Winter Series, followed by a half-hour race for the GT4 cars. A great mix of manufacturers, 16 nations represented among the drivers on the grid. The cars are rolling out onto the pit lane at the moment. Here we are at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve, and this is our first part of the day. Welcome along, everybody. As you can see, the cars keep on coming from pit lane down onto the track. And we are expecting 29 to take the start here in our first GT Winter Series race of the season. Myself, Adam Weller, here in the commentary box, once again joined by the esteemed Andy McEwen down in the pits, and on the grid, of course, will once again be Izzy Browning. First to you, though, Andy. Welcome back. Are you ready?
I think so, yes. Thank you for having me. Very, very excited to be back for, in a way, my third year of GEDLICH Winter Series racing, but sticking out right to the end of the season this time. Really looking forward to seeing how these championships develop over the course of the 5 rounds. And yeah, very, very grateful to be here enjoying the very pleasantly mild conditions that we've had so far today. Bit of rain this morning. The track is largely dry, I think, though, as we head into the race. But as you can see there, later in the afternoon, there is a chance of some more rain, potentially from 3 o'clock onwards. So could well affect maybe the GT4 race later on, but for now, track conditions expected to improve by the minute.
Yes, we'll keep our eyes on that one. As you saw, the details, the rundown of the circuit, a little over 4.6 kilometers, a circuit with 15 corners, a circuit with a lot of elevation changes. Not that drivers lean into cliches ever, but they all say the same two things: roller coaster and then up and down. Those are the two main descriptors for this venue, but it's very apropos. This is a circuit that really does highlight the challenge of dipping down into crests and up rises, and we've seen that before. Loss of traction, just coming over the crest of a hill and then just losing the rear end, even in dry conditions. So in these slippery conditions, it is going to be tricky for everybody. You can see on this shot, looking down to the main straight, that there are almost dry patches on the racing line, but it's still damp out there. And this point where it's damp, but you can't really lean into the slicks yet, this is the bit that the drivers all hate. Although, I say that, I look at this shot of turn 3 and I think to myself, I'd maybe stick slicks on the car.
But that is an awful lot easier to say from the comfort of our commentary box than out there in one of these cars. But I do tend to agree with you. I think slicks, from what we're seeing so far, have to be the way forward. But it will be definitely a little bit treacherous in the opening laps. There at the final turn, for example, the darker tarmac, the damper stuff, is right on the inside, right on the racing line. So, you know, these cars, particularly the GT3 cars, they have quite a lot in the way of electronic driver aids that can be used. They're not generally an on-off switch, though. So what setting exactly they put them on is down to driver preference. Regardless, though, it does look a little bit treacherous, I suspect.
It does indeed, and there's an important car leaving the pit lane. This is the number 11 machine from SR Motorsport, by Schnitzelalm Racing. This is the defending GT3 champion car. And of course, Kenneth Heyer is back once again at the wheel for this race. And he's joined by Jamo Hartling. Now, actually, Heyer and Hartling were the 2024 overall champions. Of course, Heyer, along with Moritz Viskirchen, won the GT3 class in 2025. And we'll be looking to do that at a bare minimum, as well as challenge for the overall GT Win Series title here in 2026. So the last one out of the blocks in terms of getting out of the pit lane. Certainly not expected to be last in any of the races this year. Front runner once again, no doubt, Kenneth Heyer, celebrating his 16th year now with Mercedes-AMG and their customer racing program. It is going to be a short and sharp half-hour race, and it's a grid loaded with quality. It's the biggest ever GT3 class grid in the GT Winter Series, with 15 cars listed on the entry, and I believe we do still have all of them. And what an interesting front row, a front row of juxtapositions, V8 versus V10, mid-engine versus front-engine, and the driver on pole is Keanu Bloom in the Haupt Racing team Ford Mustang GT3. Keanu Bloom will be looking to hold off Arūnas Gakauskas in the early stages of the race. Utah Racing versus Haupt Racing then on the front row of the grid, and then we get back to row 2, where there's yet more V10 representation from 4th position, or from 3rd position I should say, from Jonas Karklis in the Team Engstler Lamborghini Huracan GT3, and then Olymp Racing's Christian Korzynowski set to start 4th in the Ferrari 296 GT3. Exciting times ahead then, as this race is not far away at all, Andy, and we've been waiting a long time for this, and we can now, for the first time all season, go down to Izzy Browning. Hi Izzy, how's it going down there?
Yes, hello boys, hello everyone. Welcome down to the grid for the first time in the 2026 Winter Series. And we have got an exciting series coming up for you. As we did last year, here is the look down to turn 1. Cars are already on the grid. A couple of cars just now rolling in for the last couple of rows. But we are going to go and have a chat to some drivers. And as Adam and Andy have already spoken about, our pole sitter here alongside me, the number 64 of Keanu Bloom. This is the first time we see the Mustang GT3 in the GT Winter Series, and it's also the first time that he will be racing it. Can I grab a chat with Keanu? Can I jump in and grab a chat? Is that all right? I'm going to open the door then. There we go. Keanu, great to see you. Welcome to the Winter Series. I mean, a first race in the GT3 for you, and you're starting on pole position. What a great way to start.
Yes, so that's how you want to start the season, of course. We have been working very hard for the winter, and to start off the season like this is, I think, amazing.
How difficult is it going to be to convert this win? I mean, obviously everyone around you on slicks, the track is now dry, but this morning qualifying was in the wet, so different conditions for you today.
Yes, so it's the first time now on a slick tire, so everyone is on a new stand. It will be quite interesting, but I think the track will dry up quite quickly, and it's going to be a fun race for sure.
And you've got our onboard cameras, so make things interesting for us out there.
I will try my best.
All right, best of luck. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We are going to continue, because I think we've already had the possibly the 3-minute board. Yes, we have. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a look further down the grid. Alongside Keanu is going to be the number 71 of Arūnas Gelschakas, joining our grid this weekend as well. But we are going to continue back, because I want to give you a little bit of an idea of some of the cars that are on this grid. In fact, not enough time, because the first race is coming up now.
Okay, well, that has snuck up on us very quickly, but we are about to get into the racing for the first time this season in the GEDLICH Racing Winter Series. And what better series to kick us off than the GT Winter Series? This was Genesis. This is where it all started, the Winter Series concept, and it's getting better and bigger every single year. A huge quantity of GT3 cars on this grid, but a few very interesting additional entries peppered in through the Cup cars and the other classes as well. They will roll in just a moment behind the official safety car of the GEDLICH Racing Winter Series. For the first time, we've got our own bespoke car there. Keanu Bloom starting from pole position. Then in what was a wet qualifying session, the Ford came to the fore. Arunas Gakauskas in second position for Utah Racing. He will be looking to threaten from the outside, although we will be starting behind the safety car, so we should be single file when we do go to green flag racing. The time is already ticking on our timing screens, incidentally, so the race should be getting started with maybe 25 minutes or so left. Jonas Karklis in third place alongside Christian Korzynowski. Great to see Olymp Racing back again. They've already won with two manufacturers in the past. Can they win with a third in 2026? Some good Mater-inspired backwards driving going on from our safety car crews, but we'll get to that in a moment. And I think we're just having to reset the timing screen. I think we've maybe jumped the gun slightly there in the safety car, which is why we have to wait now for the grid read. A little bit of a moment there. We've also got a mechanic working on a car there about 2 rows from the rear. I think that could be the 47. Yes, the 47 car of Mats Kimby, the Team Steiner Racing entry, of which there are 3 in this race. Team Steiner Racing in the Cup 2 class. Incidentally, while we are just waiting to roll, the GT3s, of course, at the front. We've got the Cup 1 class, which is for Ferrari 296 Challenge cars. Cup 2 for Porsche 992 Cups. We don't have Cup 3 here this weekend, but that's for the McLaren Trophy cars. Cup 4 for the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeos. We've talked you through the top 4 already. Christian Korzynowski there on the second row. Jaroslav Veselaho in 5th place for AF Corsa. Great to see a 296 GT3 from AF Corsa. First time we've seen that. Massimilio Cucciaresi in 6th position in the 74 Ford. Kenneth Heyer for Mercedes-AMG SR Motorsport by Schnitzelalm starting 7th alongside Andre Fernandez in the AF Motorsport Porsche, a 991.2 GT3R, so a slightly older car. It was shipped over from the United States over the course of the last few months to come here and race. Simon Orange starts from 9th position in the Orange Racing by JMH McLaren alongside Christoph Ernhausen in the BMW Z4 GT3. Some familiar thunder in the air from that 4.4 litre V8. Brandon Oxley of NM Racing Team, that's a GT2 spec Mercedes-AMG GT2. He's alongside Dexter Muller in another of the GT3s. That's from SPS Automotive Performance. Row 7 of the grid from 13th position will be Mikael Sander in the 111 SR Motorsport by Schnitzelalm car. Pablo Bras in 14th position, the number 911 203.671, the LMR Motorsport car. Przemysław Bienkowski for PTT Racing Team in 15th. He's alongside ex-WRC driver Alexei Kikareshko in 16th position, one of the Cup 2 Porsches. Karl Runefelt, you may know him as Karl Moon, he is 17th on the grid alongside Friedrich Müller in the Liqui Team Engstler Cup 1 Ferrari 296 Challenge. 19th position, Alfredo Hernandez, Grupa Prom Racing Team Mercedes, this year supported by Haupt Racing Team, alongside Igor Klaya in the PTT Racing Team Porsche. Sean Ran is next in 21st place in another AF Corsa Cup 1 entry, and a Steiner for Steiner Racing in the Cup 2 Porsche Cup car in 22nd position. 23rd place, Norikazu Shibata, who races in Ferrari Challenge Japan regularly in a GT3 car from 23rd on the grid alongside Stanislav Jedlinski in 24th position. An all GT3 Ferrari row there. Mats Kimby and Kevin King, otherwise known as KC King, in Central America, where he routinely races. That is row 13. Row 14 of the grid grid will be Forsberg and Ruffini, and just time to mention Lucas Azato from the back of the field. It looks like we're lining up ready to go this time around, but the safety car is still out, so I think maybe there was some haste there from everyone packing up. And indeed, I could hear quite a lot of flat out as they come past the main straight, but yellow flags flying. Everyone should get the memo, and we will indeed do another lap behind safety car. Of course, that's routine really in these conditions, where it's changed since qualifying, and it was very wet in qualifying, to do 2 formation laps so the drivers have their heads around the current conditions on the circuit. I would think everyone's on slicks at this point. That hopefully isn't a question. But Andy, we're just a few moments away from going racing for the first time this season. Formally, the clock is ticking, 26 minutes and 25 seconds left to go on this race. We've been revelling over the Ford Mustang, the first time that we've seen a Ford in the GT Winter Series since someone entered a Ford Fiesta in the heady days of the GT Winter Series early era in 2021. But do you think we're going to see a challenge to the mighty Mustang?
Well, I suspect it's not going to be all that straightforward for Keanu Bloom in the Mustang, but it was a decent advantage in qualifying, wasn't it? About 7/10 or so, the gap back to Arūnas Gaižauskas, but very different conditions now. I've noticed as they came down the hill into turn 1 at the beginning of this second lap behind the safety car, how much drier the circuit looked even from 5 or 6 minutes ago. So noticeably changing conditions. The Mustang, though, I think is a good all-round GT car. It reminds me a little bit of the Bentley Continental GT3. It doesn't look necessarily the same as most other GT3 cars, but sometimes that can work in its advantage. We ride on board with it then, with Keanu Bloom at the wheel. A great car. As a fan of all things American motorsport, I have to say I'm very happy to see not only 1 but 2 of these Ford Mustang GT3s on the grid, and I'm fascinated to see in now largely dry conditions how they stack up against the rest of the field.
The Haupt Racing team lineup largely comprised of drivers that will be appearing in the ADAC GT Masters category in Germany later on in the year. They did a similar partial campaign with drivers from GT Masters in 2024. Finn Wiebelhaus won 7 races in 9 appearances, which is a record for both the most victories by a team and driver in a season. So no pressure to those in the Fords, but they've got quite the act to live up to in 2026. Teams from across Europe are here, are racing, and we are now going at racing speeds. Keanu Bloom is racing away. He's caught Arūnas Gaižauskas just slightly napping there by the looks of it. The Ford will have a very, very comfortable lead into the first corner. Then it's Arūnas in the Audi in second place. Jonas Karklis, his fellow Lithuanian driver, goes to the inside for second place at the very first corner. P2 he goes, but he drifts out wide. The ex-touring car driver who was with Engstler last year as well in the GT Winter Series and throughout the summer, he's actually lost out because Olymp Racing's Christian Korzanowski has made up a place. The 88 car has had a spin as well. Not the start we wanted there for the 88. I think one of the Ferrari Challenge cars was involved there as well. A couple of cars getting caught out at turn 1. Looks like Brandon Oxley is on the move in the GT2 spec Mercedes AMG, which we can see there through the windscreen of the 67. We ride on board with Simon Orange, who's just behind Andre Fernandez. And I think there may have been a little contact there as Christian Korzanowski went around the outside for second place. Arūnas Gaižauskas dropped down then to P3, and Korzanowski is on a charge in the early going.
Oh, fantastic stuff. But some drivers, I think, just a bit more confident in these cooler temperatures, damp circuit. You can really see those who were ready to go. In fairness, Gaižauskas was ready to go on the initial start, pulled alongside the pole sitter, forgetting, I think, that it was supposed to be a single file rolling start, and that really played into the hands of Keanu Bloom, who just accelerated away whilst they were all sorting it out behind him, and he will have a pretty handy lead, I think, at the end of the opening lap. Largely clean opening lap, as you said. We did have 2 spinners at the first corner. Yellow flags back in now, though, so I think the track is largely clear as they round now this spectacular final corner and blast past the pit. Simon Orange on his toes. Look to the inside of Andre Fernandez's AF Motorsport Porsche. Another place game. Simon Orange is on it in the early stages.
And he wants to focus in on getting all the results he can this year. Simon Orange, along with Marcus Clutton and the Orange Racing by JMH team, going for the full season and going for the championship this year. here. Christoph von Unhausen in the BMW Z4 GT3, having a look to the inside there of Dexter Muller. How great is it to see the Z4 GT3 and indeed hear the Z4 GT3 this weekend? That car will be with us for a couple of rounds this season, running in the GTX class since it's an out of homologation car, so it's not technically in the GT3 category. But as you can see, Christoph doing a great job in amongst it there in the BMW. A driver who had his first race in August.
Wow. That is quite a baptism of fire, isn't it, then, less than 12 months later, but getting stuck in, as you said, tried to make that move on the inside into turn one, but I think drivers just sort of feeling out where the grip is and where the grip maybe isn't, and offline down the hill there into turn one, you saw was still quite damp. He's really wrestling the BMW over the crest of the hill, exiting turn number 8 there. They plunge downhill through the left-hander turn 9, the Craig Jones sweep, and then back up the hill towards 10 and 11, the inventively named Portimão section of corners. This, I'm going to use the word, roller coaster ride of a circuit is already starting to prove what a challenge it is. Simon, oh, and around has got, oh no, that's a spin for the 19, and that is Jonas Karklis pointing the wrong way. Now, did he jump or was he pushed? There's no obvious damage on the Lamborghini, but it, for now, is going nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely right. He's stranded there and going to have to pick up the pieces and get it underway. Gets onto the grass as well, which of course in the wet conditions can be a bit of a hard one to recover from, but he does nicely recover the car in a gap in the traffic, continues on his way. But for Jonas Karklis, that will be a disappointing start to his race here and indeed his 2026 Winter Series campaign. Andre Fernandez then has been reeled in a little bit now by Dexter Muller, having been overtaken by Simon Orange, who I think has made up a couple of places now. He's ahead of, I think, one of the AF Corsa Ferraris as well. You don't have the timing on your graphics. We don't have it in the box at the moment either. There's been a little bit of a hiccup in the system. I think I'm going to blame the safety car driver. But the 67 of Simon Orange is on the move. That much is for certain. The 67 car just ahead there of the 96, and the other AF Corsa GT3 car, Norikazu Shibata, has had a spin there at turn 1. Looks like he's got through that without any trouble. Now I want to see where Keanu Bloom is in relation to Christian Korzanowski at the front of the field, because Korzanowski had a charging first lap. Of course, Keanu Bloom took that opportunity to start with a 2 to 3 second lead. And Kenneth Heyer is off the circuit. That must be up at around turn 10, turn 11. Kenneth Heyer off the track, and the defending GT3 champions have not had the start to the season that they would want. The car is still rolling. The car is not dug into the gravel, but that is going to be costly, and I had a feeling Korzanowski wouldn't be far away from our leader. Keanu Bloom still leads the race, but Korzanowski is hunting him down.
Yeah, the Ferrari, this agile mid-engine car, the big, bulky grunt-and-go Ford Mustang, a completely opposite pair of cars, and that is going to make for a particularly fascinating battle, I think. It's going to be interesting if we can watch this for a lap or so to see which parts of the circuit favour the Mustang, which parts perhaps favour the Ferrari. Before that, though, this is Simon Orange's view, heading up through the tight left-hander, and there, blimey, that was close, wasn't it? There was the Lamborghini in the middle of the road. Jonas Karklis, after that spin, didn't see how he got there, but Simon Orange, lightning quick reactions, in fairness, to avoid the contact. Battle for the lead, though, absolutely joined. We have timing, although I don't think that gap at the front is quite accurate. We'll get back to that in a moment. We can see the gap at the front. It's a car length or so at most.
At most, absolutely right. The Ford goes wide onto the rumble strips, and of course that's going to interfere with the traction control in these wet conditions. Christian Korzanowski may take the opportunity here. He's on the back of Keanu Bloom. The timing will work itself out in the next few moments once we cross the start-finish line, I think. But it is Keanu Bloom at the wheel and in the lead for now. But for how much longer? Because the Olymp Racing Ferrari, the 296 GT3, is on the hunt at the moment. Has a look to the inside there. A little bit tense there if you ask me, but holds on to the lead for now, does Keanu Bloom. Bloom will be watching through those mirrors. Korzanowski will be desperately hoping for an opportunity to present itself. He's sharing a car with Carol Bash. There's been a slight change to the lineups at Olymp Racing, so it's the 2 pro drivers in the 777. It's going to be a force all weekend long, and will they establish it with a move for the lead at turn 1? Not yet. Korzanowski decides he's too far back, but the menacing Ferrari, he's not going to miss it in the mirrors either, is Keanu Bloom, because it's a little bit day-glow.
Yes, you can see that car from a long way away. It is not a long way away from the back of the Ford Mustang, though, as they climb the hill through the left-hander at turn 4. Next corner is turn 5. That's a great overtaking opportunity if he's close enough, but actually through the first few corners, I'd have to say that the race-leading car had a little bit more speed by the looks of it. Keanu Bloom, therefore, didn't have to defend into the braking zone and can maybe just take a moment to catch his breath. He looked like he was on the ropes, didn't he, for the last sort of 3/4 or so of a lap. Stumbles upon a back marker, though. That almost gives an opportunity for the pass to be made, but Korzanowski's still not quite close enough to take advantage.
Yeah, Ulrich Forsberg there in the Cup 2 Porsche 992 Cup car, just taking it easy in these tricky conditions. I don't blame him, but I think Keanu Bloom might have done a little bit, as Korzanowski now is right on the rear taillights of that Ford Mustang. Big, naturally aspirated V8 versus turbocharged V6 power. 2 very, very different cars going head-to-head. The beauty of balance of performance. Oh, a little bit wide. There goes Korzanowski again. He seems quite comfortable using those curbs. Oftentimes, drivers don't want to be doing that in these conditions. Korzanowski there trying to use the massive mid-corner speed of the Ferrari and got a little bit of Ford splitter for his troubles.
Yes, that was a little bit of paint traded, I think. This, though, is where the Ferrari looks strong. Through the sweeper at the end of the lap, tucks into the slipstream and might try and find an opportunity to the inside line, but the Mustang in a straight line has an answer for the Ferrari, doesn't it? Into the braking zone we go. There's another lapped Porsche ahead, and is this going to play into the hands of the race leader or his pursuer? They're going to go either side of it, and around the outside goes Korzanowski. Brilliant awareness in traffic. You could sort of see it coming, but it was a pretty good defensive drive from Keanu Bloom until that point. It took a little fumble in traffic to allow the Ferrari to take the lead.
Casey King must have felt like a sandwich filling there as he got split either side. Korzanowski into the race lead. Keanu Bloom, look at it, squirming under braking. The big Mustang trying to get on the anchors as late as possible. Korzanowski, a driver we've seen thrive in slippery conditions before in the GT Winter Series, thinking back to Estoril in 2024. Similarly impressive performance in a 488 GT3 back then. Of course, nowadays with the 296 car, both of them using a lot of curb there, bouncing around the place. And we see here the 96 Ferrari still on the back of Simon Orange. Orange got past it a little while ago, but Jaroslav Veselaho staying with Simon Orange. Of course, Orange, a bronze-rated driver, but he is one of those that knocks on the door of the acclaimed super bronze status, I would suggest. He's very fast on his day, and just ahead of them is Brandon Oxley. So you've got a GT2 car fighting for what I believe to be 5th position at the moment. So that is a very impressive showing from Oxley, who we really should have seen this coming from the young man, of course. Has a good record in single-seaters and has had some successes in GT4s in recent times, getting to grip with the GT2 very quickly indeed. Simon Orange, though, doesn't see any of that. He just sees a target. But there is the 96 car on the inside of Simon Orange, the AF Corsa Ferrari in the stealthy carbon fibre. Oh, and Oxley gets tripped up there by the Porsche, and that's cost him a position. That will have cost him probably a few heartbeats per minute there as well. That was a tense moment on the apex. Oxley demoted. Simon Orange takes advantage.
Yeah, those GT2 cars don't have a huge amount of downforce, do they? They're very powerful. They go well in a straight line, but a combination of a lack of grip and the traffic has really hurt him there and actually cost him another position now as the 96 car does slip through. So Jaroslav Veselaho gaining another position. 2 places lost for Oxley, who is the lone GT2 car in a way, GT2 class car, but there are lots of other cars on this grid that would be eligible to race in GT2 competition around the world. As over the hill we head into the braking zone at turn 5. Another good battle pack here, the 54 car at the helm of this group. Dexter Müller, Mercedes, Porsche and BMW absolutely together. Again, 3 very different cars, but all all performing more or less to the same level. Still damp offline there as they head up towards the top end of the circuit. And again, this battle perhaps about to be affected by traffic. Another lapped car to be negotiated ahead. It's worked well for Dexter Mueller at the moment. Lights flashing as they try to work their way through, but there is only really one fully dry line. Everyone wants it. That includes the backmarker cars, and that is continuing to trip the faster runners up. It doesn't lead to a change of position just yet, but Ernhausen definitely looks like he's ready to strike.
Yes, he does. So these are two of the older GT3 spec cars on the grid, of course. The 991.2 has, well, been superseded twice at this point, of course, but still a very competitive car, still a car that is in the GT3 BOP pool for another couple of years as well. So it is running in the GT3 class, and Andre Fernandez using it to good effect at the moment. The timing screen's still trying to work itself out, but I think they're around P10 overall in actuality. We're still not quite right on what we see on screen there, but it is Korzanovski in the race lead for the time being at the sharp end of the field in that Ferrari 296 GT3. And all among the cup classes, there's been an incident. Sean Ran and Alessio Ruffini colliding with each other. That's the Cup 4 leader getting into it with the driver who was challenging for the Cup 1 lead. So that's suboptimal for both parties. Ruffini still trying to wrestle his way off the grass and now succeeds at doing so. But Karl Runefeld, leading the Cup 1 class incidentally, was just ahead of Sean Ran, and then that collision between Ran and Ruffini has given Karl a bit more freedom in his mirrors.
Yeah, Ruffini went for the move on the inside, but didn't really fully commit, did he? He was sort of in the blind spot almost, and we see that kind of clumsy little bit of contact quite a lot at that corner, and yeah, both of them unfortunately losing a fair amount of ground. They've both carried on. The incident has been noted by race control. We'll see whether they elect to dish out any penalties or not. I did notice the team manager of car 47, that was the Team Steiner Racing Porsche, was summoned to race control earlier as well due to the start procedure infringement. 77 off the road. That is Alfredo Hernandez's Mercedes. Quite a few drivers seemingly are really towing the line between success and disaster here, aren't they? Clearly the track conditions are still a tad unpredictable.
Yes, they are. It's certainly a little bit tricky in places. A couple of apex where a veneer of standing water still is present, and that's caught out a couple of people on a few occasions. Korzanovski, though, ploughing through about 3 or 4 seconds clear of the actual second place car, that of course being Keanu Bloom in the Mustang. It's displaying as Kuka Racing in second, but he's a little bit further back. Simon Orange still under immense scrutiny and immense pressure from the Ferrari 296 GT3 car driven by Jaroslav Veselaho at the moment. The 67 on the defensive line, then the Orange Racing by JMH car taking the inside ground. Smart driving, but a good run there from the Ferrari.
Yeah, much better exit speed. The next corner's a left-hander, but then it's two right-handers next up. Can Simon Orange use that to his advantage? No. Already the Ferrari has slipped through, so Simon Orange, about the first time we've seen him dropping down the order this race, tangled down at turn 5, and that's the 111 Mikael Sander car, and it has tangled by the looks of it with that Alfredo Hernandez Mercedes, which has had an entertaining last lap or so. And speaking of entertaining, Simon Orange inventing his own lineup at the top of the hill as well. So I don't know whether this is just drivers being a little bit race rusty, or if it is the tricky conditions, maybe a combination of the two, but quite a lot of little mistakes creeping in this first race of the season. It's to be expected, I suppose, but yeah, a couple of them I think will be quite grateful if they can get to the end of this 30-minute race with a car in one piece. It's been a lively affair.
It certainly has been, yes. It's been an entertaining motor race, no doubt, and we continue to see that battle on the fringes of the top 10 with the Z4 and the 991.2. I also noticed that Alfredo Hernandez carrying that front end damage. Could be a story to tell there, couldn't there? But we see the Cup 2, the Cup 1 cars intermingling further back in the field as well. That's a recovering Sean Ran. We ride on board with the leading car in the Cup 2 class, running approximately 14th overall. This is Pablo Brash at the wheel of the car that Leandro Martins, of course, a former title contender in the GT Win Series, will be driving later on this weekend and in the 6 hours of Portimão next month on the first weekend, or first full weekend of February. Behind him, behind Pablo Brash, is the recovering Kenneth Heyer. Where is Kenneth in the overall order? He's going to be around 15th position right now, 13th on your screen, but 15th in the actual order. The 11 car making his way through, of course, the GT3 spec Mercedes with the grip, with the downforce, with the braking ability, but still a recovery drive that he really wasn't was hoping not to have to make.
Yeah, not an ideal start to the championship defence, is it? But shows that even the very best could be caught out here this afternoon at Portimão. He's negotiated the Porsche, though, and now starts to get his head down in some clean air. We are, though, into the final third of the race already. These short 30-minute sprints really do fly by, and if you do have an issue early in the race, you've only got limited time then to try and bounce back from that. We're right on board with Keanu Bloom in the Ford Mustang, who we believe is still in second position, but has definitely slipped away from the race-leading Olymp Racing Ferrari of Christian Korzinowski. And will that second position perhaps be under some threat before the race is run? It's a learning curve, this, for everyone. Lots of these teams and drivers will be not necessarily hugely experienced in their respective cars, and so the Winter Series providing a great opportunity to get some race mileage under their belt and make the mistakes now, perhaps, rather than a little bit later in the season. The Mustang, though, for now, looks fairly comfortable in that second position.
It does indeed. Keanu Bloom, I think, around 20 seconds clear of the third place car, which is the other Mustang, the Massimiliano Cuccaresi driven car, the Haupt Racing team number 74, although actually the Audi, I think, might be between those two on the road. In actuality, it's just a matter of getting that straight at the moment. The Audi from the Utah Racing team. There's Alessio Ruffini on the recovery drive, going a little bit deep there into turn 13, still leading in the Cup 4 class, incidentally. We don't have Petar Matic out there, so I think Ruffini may actually be running uncontested, which is a shame for him, of course, because the more competition you have in your class in the GT Winter Series, the more points you score. And former GT Winter Series champion Mikael Sander is unfortunately in the pit lane. Has there been some sort of hiccup there for the SR Motorsport by Schnitzelbaum car? There is hopefully not a major issue. Hopefully they can get the car fixed overnight, but certainly not the way the race would have ended in Mikael Sander's version of the script.
No, we did see that car involved maybe in some contact at turn 5. It was certainly wide with another car, wasn't it, about 5-6 minutes or so ago, so maybe picked up a puncture or some other similar damage, so that's not ideal, is it? First race of the season. They're not back out on track until tomorrow, though, so any battle scars that are picked up in this race, the teams have plenty of time to make the repairs that they require. GT3 and GT2 Mercedes AMGs here doing battle as they drop down through the first corner, and Dexter Muller part of this scrap again in the number 54 car, the blue car. And there, the number 15 behind, that's Brandon Oxley. So this is a battle for overall on-track position, even if they do run in different classes. We see this quite a lot in the Winter Series, though, a bit of mixing of the classes. And always interesting to see where the strengths and weaknesses lie of cars that might outwardly look very similar, but actually run to very different regulations.
Yeah, absolutely right. Dexter Muller on the attack here, trying to get around Stanislav Jedlinski. I think that actually might be Jedlinski going a lap down. Yes, it is. So Dexter having to do a bit more work, I think, than he perhaps should, but gets it done around the outside line, gets the power down, going over the crest of the hill and across the curves. He is running P7 at the moment in the race on corrected timing. Brandon Oxley goes around the outside of the number 5 Ferrari as well. Stanislav Jedlinski making it a bit easier for Oxley than he did for the GT3 car. There is the leading the second place Mustang, as it now is, the 64 of Keanu Bloom. It's owed a lap on the timing screen. That's where the confusion is coming in with what I'm saying versus what you're seeing. I think maybe when the race got started-ish at the very start of the race with the safety car reversing, that might be what's happened. But he is certainly running second position in actuality. In third place will be the Audi, about 15 seconds further back from Arunas Kakauskas, and that was big from Alessio Raffini. A heavy dive there, and this is one of the Steiner racing cars, the 43 machine of Anders Steiner himself, trying to put the fight to Raffini, but I think lifted out of it eventually, realised that he wasn't going to beat the Lamborghini in an uphill drag race.
I think I would have lifted out of that as well if I'd have seen Alessio Raffini barrelling up the inside of me on a damp track as well there into turn 5. You could see he just couldn't get the car slowed down quite quickly enough, but did eventually manage to take the position. There, though, is your race leader. Brilliant performance this from Christian Korzeniowski. The Olymp Racing Ferrari looked on its toes from the very start, didn't it? It was a big advantage for Keanu Bloom at the beginning of the race, really getting a jump on the start, but Korzeniowski very quickly worked his way through from 4th on the grid to 2nd, and then pretty rapidly chased down the race-leading Ford Mustang as well, and now is comfortably out in front. We're right on board with the 68 car here, very tentative through the final corner, not quite trusting the grip levels still, even at this late stage of the race. And back over the plateau they go, down into the braking zone at 1680, excuse me, which is the Karl Runnefeld AF Corsa Ferrari. And again, mid-engine car, didn't quite have the front end.
A challenging start to the Winter Series for a few of the drivers out there. We saw some spinning and some shake-ups in the slippery conditions out there on the circuit. And Leandro Martins there crossing the line, I believe, to take... Oh, sorry, Pablo Brass in Leandro Martins' car, taking the Cup 2 class win there. The yellow Porsche flashing the headlights across the line. That was our Cup 2 winner. Porsche 992 Cup car. Always good in these slippery conditions, and Pablo used that to his advantage. Already back around. That was a quick in-lap from Christian Korzeniowski, taking the race win for Olymp Racing. The first race of the year, the first win of the year has been recorded, and it has gone to a Ferrari 296 GT3. It's the first time Olymp has entered its 296s into the series in racing conditions. Korzeniowski and Karel Bash driving that car this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that car under the podium more than once this weekend, but it's 1 from 1 at the moment. Korzeniowski, Keanu Bloom, and then the third car across the line, Arunas Kakauskas in the Ferrari, in the Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. So Olymp Racing ahead of Haupt, ahead of Utah, Ferrari ahead of Ford, ahead of Audi, your top 3 in the GT3 classification and in the overall standings. Celebrations already going on down there with the Olymp team. Of course, they'll be delighted with that. Korzeniowski debriefing with his team, and we'll be going down there to Izzy, who's caught up with Christian Korzeniowski in just a few seconds' time. And it will be a story, I think, of some lap traffic intervention, among other things. Certainly a challenging race for him. We saw, I think, just about everybody get caught out by lap traffic at one point or another. And we are now going to go down to Izzy underneath the podium.
We can indeed. I have our first winner of the 2026 Winter Series alongside me. Christian, What a race from you. I mean, best way to start the season.
Thank you very much. It was tricky from the beginning because there was some damp places, so we should have, to be constant and really stay on the safe side.
And you were having quite the battle with Keanu, but then you used the traffic perfectly, got around, and then he was left in your rear view mirror and you were just off into the distance.
Yeah, it was also not easy to fighting with that component compared like the guy like this, so it was not easy, but it's good.
But you've done it, and the best way to start the season, as I say, just how tricky were the conditions out there then?
Yeah, it was a lot of tricky places, so that's why I want to thank you all in Racing for our car, because everything was, just perfectly.
Well, congratulations, our first winner of the 2026 GT Winter Series, and we can go back to Adam for all the results.
Okay, well, there we go. Race 1 in the books, and a race with a lot of drama around it. So then Korzanovski in the race-winning position, ultimately leading the race. I think we're around 15 seconds towards the end, although timing was having a few hiccups. I understand there's been a power cut around the circuit, which has caused a few issues. Keanu Bloom in second place in the Ford Mustang GT3 car. In third position, Arunas Gakaushkish in the Utah Racing Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. In fourth position was Yaroslav Veselaho in the AF Corsa number 96 car. We're going to regroup now and get to the podiums in a short while, but we'll first hear from some of our commercial partners.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Well, the podium coming up very shortly, but I managed to come down and grab our P2 Keanu again. Keanu, we spoke on the grid. I mean, it was a great start, but then things just sort of fell away from you there. Just explain what happened.
Yeah, so we had a mega start. Had a big gap at the start, and then just drove my race. But the Ferrari was incredibly strong, and I tried to do my best to defend him, but he got past after 4 laps, and then we just drove our race and managed the tire as well.
Where are you lacking specifically on this track compared to the Ferrari in the Mustang?
Yeah, so he's quite fast on the straight line, and we lack a bit of traction, so we have to get that fixed, and we'll bounce back stronger tomorrow.
Is there anything you can do, anything you can change setup-wise to help for tomorrow?
Well, we have to look on the data and see where we really lose all the time, and I hope it will be better for tomorrow.
And of course, you'll be back in the car tomorrow afternoon in race 3, but you'll hand over to your teammate. I mean, just how much have you been enjoying driving this car? I know that race probably is not the way you wanted it to end, but still an enjoyable car to drive.
Yes, looking at the car, I think it's the best looking car on the grid, and just hearing the engine makes a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, we're enjoying having it in the Winter Series. As I say, another race for you tomorrow, so congratulations on the P2. Go look into the data and see what you can do for tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you very much.
All right, podium coming up very, very shortly, but there is our P2, Keanu Bloom.
Thank you very much, Izzy. Keanu certainly putting in a good show. Ultimately, though, 10 seconds back from Christian Korzeniowski. Korzeniowski, though, our race winner. Ferrari from Ford. That's how the Le Mans 24 Hours should have gone in Enzo Ferrari's script in the 60s. Let's have a look at some race highlights. Korzeniowski from 4th position at the start of the race was caught up. The Ford Mustang of Keanu Bloom getting a brilliant start as the race got underway and led the early stages. Of course, Arūnas Gakauskas having a bit of an issue early on. The number 19 Lamborghini Super GT3 car had a spin, as did a few of the others. Kenneth Heyer with perhaps the most spectacular one off the circuit and falling down the order. Simon Orange did well to avoid Jonas Karklis as we rode on board with him in the number 67 car from Orange Racing. And a lot of the drivers taking it a little bit easy. We're on slick tyres, but certainly some damp patches around the circuit. The 155 car, the Liqui Team Engstler machine, in a fight with Alessio Ruffini. Friedrich Müller there losing a position, and this was the moment the lead changed hands. Korzeniowski taking the outside line, getting around the big Mustang as the traffic intervened, and the intra-class battles continued at pace as well. Lots of intermingling in the midfield, as is always the case in the GT Win Series. Alessio Ruffini and Sean Rann had a collision. Oh, and we didn't see that one at the time, but in fact, yes, we did, of course, but it was Sander and Hernandez. I think we caught the latter half of that in the live pictures, but certainly Sander went for a bit of a hop, skip, and indeed a jump. Kenneth Heyer was working his way back through the field after his spin earlier on. The Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo running in the top 10. This was the number 27 car diving to the inside there. That was the PTT Racing machine of Przemysław Biankowski, who was a bit anonymous in this race, ultimately finishing in 15th position. And the race ending, of course, with Christian Korzeniowski crossing the line to win the race. Certainly not the script I think any of us expected for this first race, but the Korzeniowski and Karel Bash car was heavily favorited by a lot of us in the paddock for the overall win, and the overall win he did indeed get. Korzeniowski Korzeniowski in the Ferrari 296. 11 seconds clear ultimately at the front of the field of Keanu Bloom in second place. Yuta Racing's Arunas Kakaushkash in third place. Yaroslav Veselaho in the 96 in fourth position. Kukaresi fifth in the Haupt Racing team. The sister Ford Mustang. Simon Orange in sixth place. Dexter Muller in 7th position ahead of Brandon Oxley in the sole Mercedes-AMG GT2, finished just ahead of Jonas Karklis. Alfredo Hernandez rounding out the top 10 ahead of defending GT3 champion Kenneth Heyer. Difficult start to the year. Christoph Ernhausen in the GTX class BMW Z4 GT3 finishing 12th ahead of Andre Fernandez. Pablo Brash in 14th. Przemysław Bienkowski in 15th place ahead of Karl Runefeld. Alessio Raffini 17th. Igor Klaya in 18th. Anders Steiner in 19th place, and Sean Ran rounding out the top 20 ahead of Lucas Azato, who picked up some places from the very rear of the grid in 21st overall. Norikazu Shibata in 22nd. Mikael Sander did make it back out onto the circuit and finished 23rd after a visit to the pits. Friedrich Muller in 24th ahead of Alexei Kikareshko in the 88 Porsche. Stanislav Jedlinski in 26th. Mats Kimby in 27th. Ulrich Forsberg in 28th place ahead of Kevin, or KC King, in the Nascenti Racing Porsche, rounding out the 29 cars on the grid in that race. All 29, incidentally, did reach the checkered flag as well. So while we did have some incidents and, yes, a little bit of shed carbon fibre, we did get everyone to the checkered flag at the end of the day. The drivers will soon be up and celebrating on the podium, of course, not just the overall podiums, but also in the Cup classes. The GT3 cars at the front of the field overall, as you might expect, but it's not always a given in this type of racing, with some of the Cup cars, some of the GTX GT2s even being driven by handy pro drivers or handy young drivers looking to make a statement. But on this occasion, it is an all GT3 podium, and Keanu Bloom was the driver who finished second to Christian Korzeniowski, although Korzeniowski has just dropped down to third on my timing screen, which I think might be an aberration. Korzeniowski, the race winner, undoubtedly. So then, while we wait for the podiums and Andy McEwen to do his best impression of a sheep herder, we'll hear again from some of our commercial partners.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're finally ready then to get our first podium presentation of the GT Winter Series underway. A crowd of drivers gathered behind the podium, an even bigger crowd of team members down below to support them. I'm going to start with our GTX class and our race winner in GTX, Christoph Ernhausen. Congratulations, Christoph. On to the top step of the podium he goes. And the driver of the 888 machine, the Classic and Speed car, one of the absolute fan favourite cars. And he will receive his winner's trophy. And a big smile on his face, a very popular car in the paddock, and already a class winner. A class of one, admittedly, but still a positive start to the season. Christoph will pose for the photographs, and then we will dive in and have a chat with all of our class winners. So, Christoph, if you could just stay there a second. Pop down and we'll have if you come down here, we'll have a little chat with you. Christoph, congratulations, first trophy of the season. A real fan favourite car, but how was it out there in slippery conditions?
Oh, it was fun. I mean, I got a little beating from the new cars, which was great. I had a lot of fun. And I mean, at the beginning, the cars were like going past me like I was parking, but I had a good challenge. I mean, they were pushing me a lot. So, I mean, I tried to push them as well. And in the end, I think we all arrived almost in one piece, and yeah, let's see how the next race goes.
Excellent, congratulations, well done. Our class winner then, Christoph Ernhauser in GTX, gets another round of applause from the crowd below. We move on now then to Cup 4, again a class of one, but it was an entertaining race for our class winner, Alessio Ruffini. Alessio very calmly heads over to the podium, climbs to the top step, and will receive his winner's trophy. We saw Alessio getting involved in a couple of moments during that race, and once he's had his photos taken, we can ask him about that. Alessio, let's have a chat. Do you want to come down the stairs? We'll have a talk. Alessio, an interesting race for you, that wasn't it? We saw the drama at turn 5. What happened?
Yeah, let's say I started in very last position because of the problem of this morning, and it was a challenging race. A lot of overtakes, some mistakes. Tomorrow it's another day. Thank you.
What happened at turn 5? At the end of the lap, we saw the spin. Was there contact?
Yeah. There were 3 cars fighting for a position, and I mean, it happens, no? All good.
Still smiling. Well done on the class win. Alessio Ruffini, our Cup 4 victor. And we move on now then to Cup 2 for the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup cars. 3 drivers to welcome onto the podium. We start with our third place finisher, Anders Steiner. A huge reception for Anders, who is very, very happy. Third step of the podium, if you could, Anders. Podium finish for the Team Steiner racing car. In second position in Cup 2, Igor Klaya, who waves to the crowd as he heads to the second step of the podium. But the top step of the podium belongs to our class winner, Pablo Brash. The Spaniard then heads to the top step of the podium to a great applause from the crowd down below. And is helped up to the top step by Igor Klaya, the second place finisher. And 3 trophies handed out, all by GEDLICH Racing staff members. And again, we'll have a word with our class winner, Pablo Brash, in a moment. They all gather together on the top step of the podium. Cup 2, always an entertaining class in GT Winter Series. And we're excited to see how those battles continue into tomorrow. Photos, I think, largely done down below. And we'll have a word with our class winner, Pablo Brash. Pablo, do you want to come down? We'll have a quick talk to our class winner. Pablo, congratulations. It's a competitive class is Cup 2. You must be happy to get a first win of the season.
Yes, in the first my English is horrible, but the race is very good. Final, the track is dry, and the setup of the car is very good. The teams work perfect.
Perfect. Well done, Pablo. Congratulations on the win in Cup 2. Cup 1 is the next class that we have to head to, and that's for the Ferrari Challenge 296 cars. We start with our third place Cup 1 driver, Lucas Azzato. Lucas strolls out to the podium onto the third step. He will go, the Kessel Racing driver. It was an AF Corsa 1-2 though. In second position, Sean Ran. And an AF Corsa driver claims the win in Cup 1 as well. Give it up, everyone, for Carl Runnefeld. Congratulations, Carl, onto the top step of the podium. AF Corsa with already plenty to celebrate and 2 trophies to take home with them already from their weekend here in Portimão. And they'll be hoping to add to that tally tomorrow as well, with another pair of races coming up. So trophies held aloft. They gather together on the top step of the podium in glorious sunshine now. The track continues to dry. We were told that there was a chance of some rain around 3 o'clock. Well, it is 5:23 now, and I can tell you there are some ominous looking dark clouds heading our way. And I wonder whether that might affect the GT4 race coming shortly. There's dancing breaking out now on the top step of the podium, courtesy of Carl Runnefeld, our class winner. I think the photos are done. Carl, can we grab you for a chat? Pop down here. Congratulations, Carl. A brilliant start to the Winter Series. How was the race for you?
It was incredible, my first real race, so I'm happy. I was visualizing this actually in my mind for a few weeks, you know, law of attraction, so it worked out very well.
It's nice when a plan comes together, isn't it? Congratulations, Carl, on the win in Cup 1. And we can now move on to our final podium. Oh! Carl Runnefeld celebrating with a handstand. That might be the first time I've seen that. Looking forward to more gymnastics as the season goes on for the AF Corsa driver. So our final podium then, our top 3 drivers in the GT3 class, and we start with our 3rd place finisher, Arūnas Kačauskas. We interrupted a conversation, I think, that Arūnas was having backstage. But he makes his way out to the 3rd step of the podium now. 2nd place for the car that started on pole position, Hout Racing Team's Keanu Bloom. And Keanu gets a great reception from the crowd down below. The Ford Mustang 2nd in our first race of the season. The first victory, though, in GT Winter Series goes to Ferrari, to Olymp Racing, and Christian Karzanowski. Congratulations, Christian. He heads over to the top step of the podium, handshakes with Arūnas and Keanu. And we wait now for the trophies to be handed out once again. We've already heard, of course, from Arūnas, so we'll let them celebrate on the podium. It was a dramatic, lively, and certainly very eventful first race of the GT Winter Series, and we look forward to more of the same tomorrow. So, as the celebrations continue here on the podium, we look forward then to our one other race here this afternoon in Portimão. The GT4 Winter Series is coming up next.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
So then, the GT4 Winter Series is up next. They'll be out on circuit in about 2 or 3 minutes' time. And as Andy alluded to, it's brightened up out there, but there are dark clouds coming, and I think a sheet of rain coming. You can also see a rainbow peeking out from behind turn 8. So I think we might be in for mixed conditions, potentially going the other way in the GT4 Winter Series race. The GT4's split into 3 classes in the main GT4 classification. You've got the Pro class, the Pro-Am for lineups featuring 1 bronze and 1 driver of silver and above, and the Am class for an all-bronze lineup. In addition, kind of outside of the parameters of what is strictly GT4, we have the Club class, which is for out of homologation GT4 cars, and we've got an interesting little grid actually in the GT4 Club class, because there are 3 cars on the grid, a McLaren 570S Fleet, 2 of them, and the Aston Martin that we saw regularly last year, that being Thilo Goss of Muko Motorsport, albeit he's actually brought out his second Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4. The Aston Martin version 4, he has I think 4 of them total, and it's James 4.0 as he lovingly calls it, that he'll be sharing with Mattis Plushkel over the course of this weekend, and I believe a majority of the GT4 Winter Series season. But a nice mix of machines on the grid, and at the very front of the pack will be the number 30 car of Tim Horrell, who in qualifying earlier on managed to get pole position despite being the Am part of a Pro-Am lineup. Tim Horrell, who we lauded quite often last year for having good wet weather performances. It was a wet qualifying and he used that fully to his advantage. He will start on the overall pole position alongside Hugo Bach for Greystone GT. Greystone GT put in quite a lot of effort to get that car onto the grid because they had an accident in the practice sessions on Friday, so that car needed to be effectively rebuilt coming out of Friday, and it is now good and ready to go. Lots of interesting stories here on the GT4 Winter Series grid. We've got quite a few drivers who are GT racing or indeed car racing debutants on the grid. In the GT4 Win Series as an overall package for the season, I think one of the big talking points is going to revolve around that 11 car in the centre of your screen. The Mercedes-AMG GT4, one of 2 from the SR Motorsport crew. That 11 car, Enrico Ferderer and Joel Mesch's machine. Those 2 have both been vice champions in the GT4 Win Series previously in 2024 and 2025. SR Motorsport, a 2-time vice champion in GT4 Winter Series, and they'll be looking to go one better and clinch the crown in 2026. WNS Motorsport has 2 drivers looking to defend a title this season. Tim Horrell was the Pro-Am champion last year in the GT4 Winter Series, and we'll see if he can match that performance this season. He's certainly starting from overall pole position, off on the right foot coming from qualifying. And we also have Joachim Bolting with WNS Motorsport. He won the Am Championship last year with a Plus Line Racing team entered car, but he's now with WNS Motorsport, and he'll be looking to get a good result in. If it does get damp around the circuit at any point this weekend, historically, we expect Joachim Bolting to move through the field very quickly indeed. We saw that here at Portimão last year, of course. It's a fairly even split across the classes, incidentally, in the GT4 Winter Series. As I said, we've got a nice populated club class with 3 cars there, but we've got a healthy grid in the Am, the Pro-Am, and the Pro classes as well to make things very interesting. Another key point of interest, I feel, though, will come from row 2 of the grid. Robert Cronin at the wheel of the Rafa Racing by Racelab entry. He is part of an all-brother lineup in that team. Robert and Colin Cronin, the Irish brothers, the rallying dynasty that is the Cronin family. Well, it's an overall motorsport dynasty, but a lot of the winning in the family has come from their elder brother, Daniel, or elder brothers, I should say, Daniel and Keith. Keith, of course, being a 4-time British rally champion. So the Cronins now delving into circuit racing with Robert and Colin, and we expect them to do great things. Robert is the elder of the two brothers in the car. He's also the more experienced of the two. Finished 4th in last year's Ginetta GT Championship, and I dare say, Andy McEwen, that as a result of that, you're quite familiar with young Mr. Cronin.
Indeed so, yes. We've seen great thing from the Cronins, plural, really, in Ginetta racing over in the UK recently, and it's one of the things I really like about the Winter Series. You get these names popping up who are just ready to make that next step, perhaps into the higher levels of national motor racing in the UK, or indeed international motor racing as well. We saw it last year, didn't we, with a handful, particularly of the GT4 class drivers, and always interesting to see how they get on in what for many is their first taste of European competition. It is a step up from what they're used to in the UK, especially those who have come out of one make racing, as the Cronins have. This is a very different kettle of fish altogether. So yeah, really interested to see how they get on. Interesting in general, I think, to see how this race pans out, because it was a qualifying session that was affected by the weather. We had a little bit of a shower partway through. The track had never really fully dried out, actually, after this morning's rain, and I wonder whether we'll be talking about the same drivers on the pace in the race as we were talking about being on the pace during qualifying. Only 3/10 separated Tim Horrell from Hugo Back at the front of the grid. In fact, it was a fairly compact first couple of rows, but now in much drier conditions, for now at least, that may well change as we move through the 30-minute race.
Yeah, and really interesting to see Tim Horrell, of course, as an AM driver there on a pole position. We already touched base on how good he's been in the wet historically, and indeed just how impressive his performance was earlier on in qualifying. But in 2025, after winning the Pro-Am title with us in the GT4 Win Series, he had a great year in general. He got his first wins in Porsche Sports Cup Deutschland with W&S Motorsport. He even made some cameos in the GT4 European Series towards the end of the year, and I think turned a few heads as well. And it's actually something we see quite a lot here in the Winter Series paddock, is we kind of get the scoop on a lot of these quick bronze drivers who kind of, shall we say, skew the intentions of the Pro-Am or Am classifications with their sheer speed. Dustin Blattner, who's gone on to become one of the most revered bronze drivers in any championship. He was with us 4 years ago now in a Porsche Cup car run by Manthey, and well, we've seen him go on to the very highest levels of GT competition, and again, slightly break the bronze system. Will we see Tim Horrell do the same here? Let's go down to Izzy Browning. She's got the inside line and indeed her feet on the ground.
I do indeed have my feet on the ground, and we are at the front of the grid once again for the second and final time today, as only 2 races today. Much more racing coming up tomorrow though, and I do have to say there's a lot more cloud cover that has come over in the last few minutes. It's looking like there is rain behind us, so it could come maybe before the end of this race, but let's hope that it doesn't. Right, we're going to take a walk down the grid. Have to be a little bit careful because not all the cars have made it to the grid yet, but I do want to come and chat to our pole position, and that is Tim Horrell. He is our reigning Pro-Am champion, but an overall pole position. I mean, what a qualifying session. How pleased are you with that?
Yeah, definitely pleased. Porsche definitely were strong in the rain. I expect the competition to be a lot closer when the race starts, but yeah, testing went well, so we'll see.
Yeah, strong in the rain, but currently no rain, as you rightly point out. You've got a pro driver alongside you. Most of your Pro-Am people in the same class as you in Pro-Am are quite a bit further back. Is the focus on the overall win, or are you more focused on just getting the class win?
I'm going to go for the overall win. I mean, that's why I'm here, to do the best I can. So, yeah, we'll see how it unfolds.
Love that. Go well out there. Thanks for speaking to us. Right, we're going to continue just on the grid. I've got the number 17. Now, this is the first pro car. As I said, Tim Horrell is the Pro-Am entry, and he has taken the overall pole position. But we do have the number 17 Greystone GT car, and this is the first of the pros. Hugo back in this car. Hugo, welcome to the Winter Series. Great to see you. What are your thoughts ahead of this race?
Yeah, but the thought easier is just to win it, of course. But yeah, super happy to be there with all the guys. Greystone, first race with them, first race with McLaren. Yeah, we had kind of a moment yesterday, so happy to be in this front row and pole in class. So yeah, and more than this, it's the birthday of my sisters. It's the 17th. We are running number 17, so that's kind of a good day.
Well, let's hope it continues to be a good day. How tricky is it going to be down towards that first corner?
We're going to be safe, of course, because nothing is going to be played at T1, and we have a really good car. The pace is going to be good. So, yep, let's have fun, and we'll see at the finish line.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of cars behind you that do want to be in front of you down to that first corner, though.
Yeah, that's for sure, But I'm pretty confident, to be honest.
All right, thanks for speaking to us. Best of luck out there. Right, we will continue back. I know the 1 minute board is going to come out very shortly, but we'll see if we can continue back a little bit further. So that is our first pro. We come back onto the next row, and it is an all-pro row 2. We've got the number 26 of Lucas Cartelli alongside, also joining the grid for the first time. And then we have a familiar team, but not a familiar lineup, because we have Race Lab and the two brothers of Robert Cronin and Colin Cronin. Robert, the older brother, will be in this race. We will see Colin in the race 2 tomorrow. And with that, we will head to the race.
The GT4 Winter Series is about to roll for the first time in 2026. It's Porsche versus McLaren on the front row of the grid. It's Pro-Am versus Pro on the front row of the grid, with Tim Horrell of W&S Motorsport looking to claim a first overall win in the GT4 Winter Series. If he can do it, that would be sorely impressive. However, the conditions are markedly different from the conditions he got his qualifying time in. Hugo back after a big crash yesterday. The team did well to recover the car, and he felt okay in himself this morning. Back into the car, back into the grid, and starting from second. Great effort from him to bounce back. Third position will be Lucas Cartel of Speedy Motorsport, the Pro Class entry, one of 2 Toyota Supras from that crew. Third on the grid, Robert Cronin, the elder Cronin brother, graduating into full-fat GT4 cars in multi-class competition for the first time. Fifth position, Ravi Ramyi for the Racetivity or L'Espace Bienvenu team in 5th position. Once again here with Charlie Robertson, once again here for a full season, and this time not an invitational entry. Then it's the first of the club class cars, Rafael Riani, proving to be a bit of a disruptor in qualifying in the older 570S GT4. That could be interesting. 7th position on the grid, Enrico Ferderer, last year's vice champion, looking to go one better. He's alongside Gonzalo Araujo on the 4th row of the grid. On row 5, the Mercedes AMG GT4, driven by Alexander Zbobrovs, the Team VRT entry, alongside Pavel Savicka, the father of the father and son duo at Blue Garage Racing. Son Troy set to race later on in the weekend. They are a Pro-Am entry. then it's an all-club class, row number 6 of the grid. The other Zome Racing McLaren 570S GT4, that's Breno Aruda, alongside Thilo Goss, the man who has an appropriately thundering car for someone so deeply involved with the band Rammstein. We'll get to that during a red flag at some point, I'm sure. Villicuna in 13th place, the 111 car alongside Jose Garcia in 14th for Sunda Motorworks, one part of a husband and wife pairing, along with Oana Graciela. And at the back of the field, quite surprising this, Joachim Bolting starting from the rear, expecting him though to climb up through the order, and it does appear that we've lost the number 8 Speedy Motorsport Toyota, at least on those graphics. Yes, not on the grid for this race, unfortunately. So the number 8 car not taking the start in this one. That was the AM class entry Toyota GR Supra GT4. Hopefully they're not finished for the weekend. I haven't heard anything to that extent, but certainly not on the grid for this race after issues in qualifying. So then, as with the GT Winter Series race previous, we are already running the clock. We're officially onto the second lap of the race here, but the race will properly get started with a single file start controlled by this man Tim Horrell, and you see there using the hand brake lever on his car. We had a look at the system that he utilized as a hand control reliant driver last year, and he's not changed it since then. In fact, at the start of 2025 he told me, I finally feel comfortable in the control of the car. I feel that we've got the setup right with my hand controls for the first time, and sure enough his 2025 season was stellar, so clearly he was right on the money, as was the setup. And now coming into 2026 he's got more experience, more mileage with the car, and indeed the hand control scheme, and we'll see what he can do in 2026. He's got off to the best possible start, leading from pole position in a full fat GT4 race for the first time, and let's see what he can do up against Hugo Bach. Hugo Bach, a driver that we would expect on paper to be able to clear Tim, but who knows, Tim Horrell may have found a bit of an X factor over the winter here.
Yeah, well, certainly in qualifying and in treacherous conditions as well, actually managing to really impress with that pole position effort. But then Hugo doesn't even necessarily have the pro class wrapped up, because he was only about 4/10 quicker than Lucas Cartel. So if Tim Horrell can hang on at the front as a pro-am, that would be impressive. But that then leaves us to question what exactly is going to happen in the pro class itself. The next 3 drivers, Hugo Bach, Lucas Cartel and Robert Cronin, all classified as pros, and all are looking to try and start their season off with a class victory. That AM battle is fascinating, as you said, with Joachim Bolting starting out of position. You'd have to say, I think we're in for an entertaining 25 minutes or so of racing. Expect the safety car in this time, Adam, and yeah, interesting to see what happens.
I would wager that qualifying has told us almost nothing about how this race is going to play out here in the GT4 Winter Series. The conditions are markedly different, the circumstances are markedly different, but the thrills, I think, will be next level here as we kick off the GT4 Winter Series at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve here in sunny Portimão. Sometimes sunny Portimão. It's had its moments today. Tim Horrell is out onto the final corner. He's put the hammer down by the looks of it. We are racing, and Hugo Bach has really timed the start to perfection behind him. The McLaren Artura in second place. Lucas Cartel has got a good run down the main straight as well. But it's Tim Horrell who leads them to the first proper lap at racing speeds, and by the time they get to turn 1, Cartel side by side with Hugo Bach. He's not quite going to get there. Robert Cronin with Ravi Ramyid up his inside. Ramyid being a disruptor, another AM driver from a Pro-Am lineup, taking an early move forward. These AM drivers getting a little bit good by the looks of it. The 32 of Joachim Bolting in a spin at turn 1. The woes continue for him as Lucas Cartel is challenging his teammate for the overall lead. Around the outside at the T5 hairpin, they accelerate out of the corner. Horrell should just about hold on, but that Supra looks punchy in a straight line as they climb up the hill towards the apexes of turn 7 and turn 8. It'll be Cartel on the inside line, and Tim Horrell tries to hold on, but he gets dispatched to first, second, and then down to third place. Cartel into the race lead then, and Hugo Bach following him through into second place. the Supra's strengths are clearly when the steering wheel is pointed in a straight line.
Yes, and the McLaren doesn't seem all that strong in a straight line, does it? Tim Horrell closes back in on Hugo Back, almost gets into the back of the McLaren Artura as they turn into the right-hander there at turn 11. But what a brilliant start for Lucas Cartel, who not only has managed to get the lead, but actually has built himself a little bit of a buffer as we approach the end of the opening lap. That is Ravi Rami dicing now for 4th position, with Enrico Federer off, I'm afraid, is the 96 car. And that is Rafael Rayani, and I think has stopped towards the side of the road, possibly with a mechanical issue rather than an off. We'll see whether or not he's able to get that car back on the road. But I said a lively race was on its way, Adam, and a very lively opening lap. A decent lead though for Cartel, 7/10 of a second already.
Yeah, exactly. Cartel with the early lead then as this race fires into life. We ride on board with Enrico Federer in the 11 car. There have been some dramas down there in the SR Motorsport pit with the GT4 cars. I think it was the 11 that had to be replaced. They had to get the spare car out because of an engine issue. Meanwhile, Tim Horrell is not giving Hugo Back any breathing room. Yes, he's got down to 3rd place, got demoted to 3rd place, but Hugo Back under immense pressure from Tim Horrell in 2nd and 3rd position. In 4th place, Ravi Ramyeed under immense pressure as well from Enrico Federer, the Espace Bienvenue BMW. That car, of course, last year, or at least that entry last year, was under the designation of Century Motorsport, but a new team has emerged.
Oh, they were side by side, I think, there, Horrell and Back. I think Hugo Back managed to hang on, but Tim Horrell really wants to get back past the McLaren driver. I think he feels he's quicker than Hugo Back right now. And, of course, he's got Ravi Ramyeed catching him. Remember, Ramyeed is also in a Pro-Am entry, the same class as Horrell, was half a second quicker than Tim in the first sector alone on this lap. So there you can see, well, the BMW was catching. It nearly got assaulted by Enrico Federer's Mercedes as they went through the right-hander then. But the red and black Porsche and the bit of everything coloured BMW, they are battling for Pro-Am victory, and that gap is coming down.
The Zone Racing McLaren that we saw pulled up on the side of the circuit at turn 7, Rafael Riani, has continued on, so I think it may have been a Control-Alt-Delete to get the manual out, user error kind of situation, but the car is now running and rolling once again. He'll have to work hard to try and win the club cars. He's given himself a minute's worth of handicap, so we'll see what the karting graduate can do. I believe this is his very first motor race in a car. In fact, no, he's done a couple of Caterham races. He did confide that to me, but in terms of GT racing, in terms of having a roof over his head, absolutely new ground for him. Enrico Federer then, who of course won the ADAC GT4 Germany Championship overall, along with his cohort J-Mo Hartling, who we'll see in the GT Winter Series in tomorrow's 2nd race of the weekend. He'll be looking to try and stamp his authority on this one and try and fight for an overall podium, but right now Ravi Ramyeed and moreover the rather bulbous BMW are making it quite difficult for the German.
Yeah, Ravi strong in that first sector, a purple first sector for Ramyeed, so fastest of anybody so far, but then out of the hairpin at turn 5 seems a bit sluggish. Federer to the inside, dab of the brakes look for the Mercedes driver. He realised that was a low percentage move that he was attempting, and Ravi Ramyeed for now hangs on. Very interesting, though, to see the various strengths and weaknesses. I actually thought, Adam, as we rode on board with Federer into turn 1, he looked so much more committed on the brakes than Ramyeed. And yet by the end of that sector, only 2 or 3 corners later, Ramyeed was setting a purple time. So corner by corner, these battles are going to ebb and flow ever so slightly. But Enrico Federer, remember, a pro driver, this isn't really the battle he wants to be having with a Pro-Am car. But to get onto terms with his pro rivals, he needs to make progress, particularly past the BMW in front of him.
Yes, absolutely, but we saw last year, of course, Ravi Ramyeed and indeed Charlie Robertson kind of disrupting the order of things, particularly since they were an invitational car running the Evo spec before it was formally homologated by the SRO, and that led to some very interesting moments sometimes with Ravi kind of being an informal Pro-Am and getting in on the battle, and they had a great season. It's great to now have them fighting for championship, fighting for points here in the GT4 Winter Series, and I spoke to to Ravi at the British GT Media Day just a few days after our season ended in 2025, and he said, I feel so sharp. I feel like I'm on the money, in the groove, ready to go. I've never felt this way at the start of a season before, and that's why he knew even back then, yeah, I'm coming back for seconds in the GT4 Winter Series. Enrico Ferderer still after his first helping of a move on Ramid. He's not been close enough to make the move just yet, but we saw how strong the car was under braking on a couple of occasions. You see Ravi Ramid there using all the circuit and a bit more coming out of turn 4. Ferderer, though, not quite close enough for a move at the hairpin at turn 5. Ultimately, at the front of the field, it's Cartel leading the race, but he was 4/10 slower than Hugo back on the previous lap, and for a second lap in a row, it's almost identical, the situation, as Ferderer again tries to stick his nose to the inside of Ravi Ramid, and Ravi's committed to his bit and said, absolutely not. No, my car's ahead. I'm going to cut your nose off.
Well, we've seen in the past, haven't we, that Ravi is not one usually to back down from a fight. We saw that not only Winter Series last year, but throughout what was a very successful British GT campaign last year in the British GT4 category. Adam mentioned that he felt very much race ready at the start of that season. That really showed, didn't it, in the early results, particularly last year. It was only really a crash at Alton Park midway through the season that derailed their championship. They still managed to take the fight to the last round, though, didn't they? So they are a pair of drivers who gel very well, he and Charlie Robertson, and they don't tend to back out of a scrap. This is a good defensive drive so far from Ravi. It is, though, losing him time. Now, I'm going to make the point, Adam, that I always make, and it is always ignored by drivers. But is there an argument to say here that Ravi could possibly let Enrico Ferderer go, work with the Mercedes driver, and maybe still have a chance of catching back up to Tim Horrell, his class leader, because actually that gap now is going up.
If I win the lottery, I'll fund an AM seat for you, so you can finally grasp why they never will do it, Andy. But yes, point taken. Perhaps there could be a logic to that, to try and get that toe from Ferderer to the back of Tim Horrell. But Tim, in fairness, is absolutely holding his own in third overall. He is an AM element of a Pro-Am lineup, but he's keeping up with Cartel and Hugo Back, who are two pro drivers, two seasoned pro drivers at that. Hugo Back is someone who has won races in Super Trofeo Europe, in the GT4 France series, the FFSA GT4s. He knows absolutely what he's doing, and Lucas Cartel also has a great bevy of experience, raced last year in the GT4 European Series. But Enrico Ferderer scrapping and holding on to the rear of Ravi Ramid for now. This is the battle to be watching by the looks of it, 4th and 5th position. Can Ferderer finally do it? He keeps getting these good runs, but he doesn't quite find a car's width.
It's the middle sector, isn't it, where the Mercedes is so strong, from turn 5 all the way through the uphill section. In fact, there is the move out of sort of nowhere, really, into turn 11. Ramid will try to get the switch back, but the next corner is a fast left-hander. He'll try and duck underneath into turn number 13, but that line is covered by Enrico Ferderer. And I think the point I was building up to make is that if the move was going to come anywhere, it would be in the middle sector. Of course, he overtakes in the first corner that is part of the third sector, turn number 11. But you see my point. It built up through that middle sector. He was so strong through the switchbacks and finally has clear air in front of him. I'll be interested now, Adam, to watch that gap from Tim Horrell 3rd to Enrico Ferderer 4th, see if it comes down and see whether Ramid can go with him.
Yes, that will be very interesting. The BMW is usually pretty strong, though, in a straight line, so I'm wondering if turn 1 may present some challenges. It has presented some challenges for 2nd overall. Tim Horrell, don't call it a comeback, as he goes around the outside, tries to find his way through, but Hugo braver and later on the brakes. Did Ravi Ramid get his position back, I wonder, because they were very close as they came across the line, but I think Ferderer should still just about be there in 4th position. We ride on board with Tim Horrell as you see him there fighting the car at the apex of turn 4. Turn 4 seems to stay damper longer than a lot of this track. There are a couple of small ravines that build, and you see there Ravi Ramid just at the top of shot was still behind Enrico Ferderer, so Ferderer holding on by a thread for P4 at the moment. And now that they're into the middle sector with the Mercedes ahead, to your point from the previous lap, perhaps a car length or two will now build, and Tim Horrell will maybe have to keep an eye on the rear view mirrors in the latter latter minutes of this race. For now, though, he's facing forward and looking to try and challenge for this second overall.
Fastest lap of the race for Tim Horrell last time by 151.8. He looks to the inside. This is where Federer made his move a lap ago, just a length or so too far back. But this is fantastic to see. Tim Horrell started on pole, okay, didn't manage to stay in the lead, but actually the pace he's got now is matching, in fact, quicker than the race leader, with still 13 3/4 minutes to go. If he can dispatch a Hugo back pretty quickly, he might yet have a chance to go up there and challenge for the win. In the background, Ramid is back ahead of Federer. These AM drivers are not backing down, are they?
Absolutely not. Bronze? What bronze? Although they want to stay bronze, really, with the SRO or with the FIA driver ranking setup. Ravi Ramid is up into 4th position once again, and Enrico Federer, I think, is going to be gesticulating wildly. I'd love to know quite how that move came about, but Ramid is now up into 4th place once again. Enrico Federer is now once again tasked with the challenge of getting around the mighty BMW M4, the G82 in Evo spec. As it is. Tim Horrell there again, right on the back of Hugo back, 2nd and 3rd positions. They are split by a couple of hundredths of a second. Ramid seems to have control for now over this fight with Federer, but of course the middle sector is coming, and we'll see whether your analysis proves correct again.
No.
Andy, Tim Horrell! Tim Horrell with a problem! That looked like a brake or maybe a suspension, but certainly something on the front left corner has failed. And after a brilliant performance, Tim Horrell, unjustly, I feel, has had a problem, and you're spotting some debris down there, Andy.
It looked like a brake, didn't it? It looked like a brake rotor or brake disc had exploded. It's we can't say for certain, but what a shame for Tim Horrell, who had driven a fantastic race to that point. Luckily, he avoided the back of Hugo Back's McLaren, because if it was a brake issue, then he did very well to avoid colliding with the back of the car in front of him, and hopefully that can be fixed for tomorrow. What a shame, though. That, of course, hands the class lead now to Ravi Ramid in the BMW. So in a way, he'll be glad now that he's back in front of Enrico Federer. No reason to work with the Mercedes driver now. He's inherited the class lead as it is, but that is heartbreaking stuff for Tim Horrell, who up to that point hadn't really put a foot wrong.
Yes, and it's a blow to his Pro-Am title defence. If I remember correctly, he's currently scheduled to skip one round of the season, so he really needed to maximise his point scores against Ramid and Robertson, and that's going to be a big blow for him going into the rest of the weekend. He'll be devastated with that, because it was such a good performance up to that point. Things have somewhat stabilised here between Ramid and Federer. The gap is now out to around a second between the two of them, and Ravi Ramid again extracting great pace from the BMW run by the L'Espace Bienvenu team, which is run by the Racetivity organisation behind the scenes. Quite a prominent French race team looking after quite a bevy of GT cars. Meanwhile, we should touch base on some of these other classes as the AM car of Jose Garcia gets put a lap down there. The leading car in AM is Alexander Bobrov's in the Team VRT machine. However, he's being hunted down at a rate of about 3 seconds a lap by Joachim Bolting on his recovery drive. In about a lap and a half, I think Bolting will be all over the rear of the Team VRT Mercedes for the AM class honours. Of course, our Pro-Am lead is Ravi Ramid in 3rd place, and second in class now after the issue for Tim Horrell is Pavel Savicka in the Blue Garage Racing Lotus GT4, the Emira. We ride on board with Jose Garcia. Jose Garcia in the number 24 machine there, just making things easy for the Aston Martin that went past. That's Gonzalo Araujo in that Pro Class entry. I think that was recategorized after a change of car, a change of driver a couple of days before the race began. And leading in the club class is Breno Arruda for Zone Racing in the McLaren 570S GT4. He's only 6 seconds clear of Thilo Goss. Those two seem to be about equipaced out there on the circuit as well. We'll see if Thilo can maybe try and reel in the final third of the race. We're down under 10 minutes of the race left to go, and Robert Cronin seems to quietly be chipping away on Enrico Federer as well. He was a couple of tenths quicker on that previous lap, and the gap is only 1.1 seconds.
Well, and another gap that's coming down is second to third. Ravi Ramid on the previous lap, a full second quicker than Hugo Back, and he was about 3/4 of a second quicker on the lap before. So this man here, Ravi Ramid, is on a charge to try and close in on second place overall. Back, to be fair, seems to be losing pace. He's suddenly 6.7 seconds back from race leader Lucas Cartel. Well, that was hovering around a second and a half for much of the race, really. So second and third coming down. Third are under threat maybe shortly from Robert Cronin in fifth. Also, just to pick up on that number 24 car that we were watching earlier on, Jose Garcia actually has picked up a drive-through penalty for an infringement of Article 34.3. Now, of the two of us, Adam, you're the more likely to have memorised the regulations, but I wouldn't necessarily expect even you to know what that is. Either way, that car will be visiting the pit lane, hopefully shortly, to serve that drive-through penalty.
And here we see this AM class lead that we spoke about 1 or 2 laps ago. Joachim Bolting is T-minus maybe half a lap from being on the back of Alexander Bobrovs. Now, I'm sure the Team VRT team will be keeping abreast of the situation. He will be informed, yes, this is for position. Yes, this is for the class lead. The safety car lights, though, are on. I've not seen yellow flags or a reason for them out around the circuits. That may have just been procedural or a checkup or something of that nature, but we've not seen any yellow flags around the circuit. Nonetheless, the number 18 of Alexander Bobrovs is running in the class lead. Joachim Bolting, who we saw, of course, starting at the back, we then saw spinning at turn 1 on lap 1, and judging by that damage, maybe with some help as well, he's now right on the back of the AM class lead as we go through the final corner. I think as they come out of the corner of the final turn, it will be Bolting in the slipstream, but I thought maybe he'd be a bit closer coming around that final turn with the Porsche Cayman's rotation, but no, the Mercedes holding on. But by the end of the straight, it is Joachim Bolting to the inside line. Is it for the lead? Oh, not quite yet.
Yeah, that was a good effort there, wasn't it? Like you said, gained a lot of ground in a straight line, and he'll definitely be plotting, I think, to use that next time by if he hasn't got past the Mercedes up to that point. Alexander Bobrovs, though, will want to try and defend this if he can. 6 3/4 minutes to go, so he hasn't got to hang on in the grand scheme of things for all that long. The Porsche, though, will close as they come over the hill, looks to the inside line, and this time Joachim Bolting is late on the brakes, hits that debris that came from Tim Horrell's Porsche. Hope that didn't do any damage. Through he goes, and he should now have the traction up the hill as well to make that one stick. Yes, he does. So Joachim Bolting then through to the lead of the AM class that we saw coming a few laps ago, but actually took him a bit longer maybe to make the move than he would have been expecting. So Porsche then ahead of Mercedes. And as they turn through the right-hander there at turn number 8, they climb uphill and dive back down. There is a yellow flag and there is a safety car. So the safety car being scrambled. We're still not 100% sure why we've got a safety car. Possibly for that debris on the track, I suppose. But with 6 minutes to go, this bunches everyone back together.
It does indeed, yes. Quite an interesting situation. We've got one car, I thought, there in the pits. That might have been one of the GT cars from the previous race, actually. It might just be that Tim Horrell isn't actually in the recovery. He's kind of in the runoff area still, based on that shot we just got of Tim Horrell. And of course, for Tim, it's important that we get him into safety because he can't necessarily get himself clear of the car, so maybe that's a part of it as well. All the same, Lucas Cartel, with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left of the race, I think he'll be hoping we're drawing a line under it because he had built himself a lead of over 8 seconds. He was lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Hugo Back at the time that we called the safety car, and he'll be saying, please, just let me have this one. But we'll see whether or not we have a return to racing. Certainly, I think this should be a fairly brief safety car if it is only to make sure that Tim Horrell's car is moved away from the firing line and to collect what did indeed very much look like half a brake disc at turn 5. But you see there the recovery car in position. I think the gap in the fence there at turn 5 isn't quite Cayman sized, so they're having to get it on the tow rope and sort everything out. But that should be, in theory, a fairly quick recovery.
Fingers crossed, as you said, not for this man, Lucas Cartel. He would quite like to follow that safety car home to the checkered flag, but one man who's definitely going to be rubbing his hands with glee here is Ravi Ramid. We documented the pace that he had pace advantage that he had really over Hugo Back in that developing battle for second place. Give Ravi Ramid a one-lap shootout to the flag and you can be fairly certain he'll have a go at making the move. So Ravi, he'll be hoping to see those lights extinguished before too much longer, and it'll be interesting to see what it does to some of the battles in other classes as well. The club class, for example, Breno Aruda and Thilo Goss, they were only about a second or so apart, I think, when the safety car came out. Very evenly matched in lap times up to this point, so the Aston Martin driver may yet hold out some hopes of snatching a class win.
Yeah, the fact that Thilo is pretty close behind is going to be interesting. I think they'd kind of ebbed and flowed a bit in terms of gap at various points, but yes, now that they are going to be together in the safety car queue, I wouldn't put it past Thilo Goss to make a move. And Thilo, of course, we saw him last year in his orange Aston Martin Vantage, the first generation V8 Vantage. This year he's in the black car, that's James 4. The orange one is called James 3. I haven't fully got the brief on James 2 and 1, nor do I know what he's named his newly purchased DTM Mercedes. I don't think you can call that one James. I suggested Bernd after Bernd Schneider, but I'm not sure it went in. Lucas Cartel leading the race then and looking at those safety car lights, I suspect, throughout that second sector of the lap and wishing that they stay illuminated. With this kind of lap time, what were the last laps? Around 2 minutes 50. So the safety car might need to hurry up here to make sure we go back to racing. In fact, Lucas Cartel may do some gamesmanship here, of course, and make sure that he doesn't cross the line until the zero if the safety car lights do go out. We may, unfortunately, be faced with a situation here where we do end under safety car, because right now it's very marginal.
I think that perhaps Lucas Cartel, he did have a particularly slow last lap. We saw him catch the safety car and then sort of stop next to the safety car on the apex of turn 1. My point being, he could well go a little bit quicker this time by, but as you say, he may not want to do that. Just because the safety car has turned its lights off and disappeared into the pit lane does not mean that you have to hit the loud pedal and accelerate yourself. So yeah, could see some strategic stuff here from Lucas Cartel. He should be reasonably confident in his abilities, though, that he'd be able to gap the Hugo Back car anyway, because of course his pace was pretty strong before the safety car anyway.
And what I was spotting there behind our timing tower was that we have got Tim Horrell behind there it is, behind the wall now, as is the rescue car. So we are good to go on that front. The presumed safety car cause has been eradicated. Now there are still cars, as we saw Jose Garcia was holding up, I think Luis Aguilar going around under safety car conditions. Now, sometimes we do wait until everyone is grouped back together, but come on, let's get this going. We've got a minute of the race left to go. We've got a prime one-lap shootout waiting to go. You don't have to group them all together, strictly speaking, before the safety car comes in. I've seen it happen elsewhere, but if it is the case, it is illogical. I do understand why we maybe would not, but the safety car, will it come in? Will it stay out? We've got 40 seconds left on the clock, and the safety car lights would really need to have already come out. Race director says it will finish behind the safety car. That is a shame, especially since we've sped up the safety car this lap. We will get an extra lap of racing, or at least driving behind the safety car. But unfortunately, no, we're not quite going to get back to racing conditions on this one, which is a shame. But again, for Lucas Cartel, perhaps for Hugo Back with Ravi Ramyud behind him, I think that's a measure of relief.
Yes, I suspect so. The flag, is it going to wave this time? Are we going to go round another lap? No, we're going to go round another lap. So I suppose we have to go through the motions. Technically, the drivers have not yet completed race distance, although Lucas Cartel almost looked as though he was weaving in celebration there. That was some very exuberant tyre warming, if that's what that was, and now settles back onto the line. So not necessarily the flourish at the finish that Lucas Cartel would have been hoping for, but he'll be very grateful for the race win, and a hard-fought one as well. And another driver who didn't start on the front row, who is going to come home a race winner, seemingly. That's been the story of the day, really, in both this and GT Winter Series, and the speedy Motorsport Toyota GR Supra. looks as though it is going to claim the race victory. Have we had a Toyota race victory before in Winter Series
No.
GT4? I don't think we have we?
not.
So first there, the Artura second, also not a car that we've seen a huge amount of, if at all, in GT4 Winter Series competition. So things are changing, and good to see lots of new cars. Really good variety on the grid as well, actually, this year in GT4 with Toyota, McLaren, BMW, Aston Martin, Porsche, Mercedes, Lotus, all represented. That's really the great thing about GT4 these days. We've seen it in British GT in lots of GT4 categories around the world. So many cars now that you can take your pick from, and good to see most of them represented here in GT4 Winter Series.
Absolutely, only 4 manufacturers have won a GT4 Winter Series across the 2 years so far. McLaren with the most victories, 12. Mercedes, Aston Martin and Porsche the other winning marks. So Toyota will add their name to what is currently quite a short list. Will we see more names, to Andy's point, pop up on that particular statistical front as the season goes on? The safety car will withdraw so that Lucas Cartel can put the hammer down and celebrate the win properly for Speedy Motorsport, for Lucas Cartel, and indeed for the Toyota mark. It will be a first GT4 Winter Series victory as they round the final corner at speed. The Belgian driver for one of the top teams in Portuguese GT racing will claim the victory, and it'll be a well-deserved second place for Hugo Back at Greystone GT after needing to repair the car yesterday. And Ravi Ramyid with an overall podium as well. He crosses the line in third to win Pro-Am, and he was really showing up and showing out in that race. Lucas Cartel at Speedy Motorsport then claiming the race win. Not perhaps the way he would have wanted to win under the safety car, but I think probably relieved that we didn't get the one-lap shootout scenario. Enrico Ferreira finishing 4th place behind that overall podium, ahead of Robert Cronin in the Race Lab McLaren Artura GT4, and then the Araujo Competição Aston Martin advantage of Gonzalo Araujo finishing in 6th overall ultimately. The AM class win, of course, going to Joachim Bolting, who finished 7th overall eventually, following that exchange for position with Alexander Bobrovs just before the safety car came out, as a matter of fact. So he certainly picked his moment to make the move. And in the club class, the victory went the way of Breno Arruda for Zone Racing and the McLaren 570S GT4. Of course, Thilo Goss was there on the bumper. There may have been a bit of fireworks in the club class as well if we had got that one last racing lap. But a very interesting race with the AM elements of Pro-Am lineups proving to be very quick indeed. And a shame for Tim Horrell that he didn't get the overall podium that his pace really did justify. Horrell, who started on pole position, was running top 3 all race, and indeed was matching pace with Hugo Back and to a lesser extent Lucas Cartel, who really ramped it up as the race went on. But all the same, a great performance from Tim Horrell, and he'll be disappointed to end up with nothing to show for it ultimately, but we'll see him back out, of course, in the endurance race on Sunday. His co-driver in that car, Frederik Zbies, the karting graduate who comes in as a race-winning driver in the BNL karting series in the Benelux region. He will be at the helm for race number 2, and he was looking very quick earlier on in qualifying, so he'll be one to watch. Look at this, we have some weight scale fun going on here. Drivers picking up some debris on the outside of the circuit and even on the grass, so everyone wanting to make sure they stay on the right side of the scales. There was a drive-through penalty towards the end of the race for the number 24, Jose Garcia, who was 14th position ultimately. The AM class car, that was for drive-through procedure, so that is not really going to affect anything in the overall standings, but still a little bit of a blow post-race for the Sunda Motorworks team. For Speedy Motorsport, though, in a first GT4 Winter Series appearance, it is a first GT4 Winter Series win, and that is a matter of great pride, I'm sure, for the team. Lucas Cartel, the Belgian racer who had quite the unique bring up through the sport. He was in cross cars, of all things, won an FIA Motorsport Games gold medal at the 2024 iteration of the Motorsport Games. And he's moved up into the world of GT racing and has quickly set himself up as one to watch. A race win here in the GT4 Winter Series. I think that might be his first win in a GT car point blank, if my record book memory serves me correctly. And the embraces, the congratulations being dished out justifiably on a very, very strong drive. He was dominating before that safety car came out. And I imagine there's just an iota of relief that he didn't have to defend on the final lap from the pack that had assembled behind him. Lucas Cartel then a race winner. Speedy Motorsport race winners as well. And I think that's going to be one very happy young Belgian. He seems to do well in the Iberian region in the Motorsport Games in Valencia. As we said, he got that gold medal, and now he comes down to Portugal for the GT4 Winter Series. And his first attempt in the series, he is a winner. Great effort from all three of our teams on the overall podium, and again, a standout drive from Ravi Ramyid. Myself and Andy, I think, were both fairly blown away by the fact that it looked like he was closing in on the second place overall. Hugo Back, who has a great record in GT racing as a young pro driver. I think Hugo may be driving in a little bit of pain after having an accident yesterday in that car. But all the same, Ravi Ramyid put on quite the show in that race, and a great start to the partnership, of course, between Ravi, Charlie Robertson, and the Le Espace Bienvenu team, the French outfit taking Ravi and Charlie on as they move into the European GT4 scene for the 2026 season. Let's go down to Izzy, though, because she's ready to talk to our winner.
I am indeed with our winner, the first winner of the GT4s this season, Lucas alongside me. And not only the first winner of the GT4s this season in our paddock, but it is a first win in GT4s altogether for Lucas. Congratulations. I mean, some people may have been disappointed to see the race under safety car, but you were probably relatively relieved to not get back going again.
Yeah, I am really happy for this win. It's my first win in GT, first races in the Winter Series, so yeah, I'm really happy. I worked hard for them, and yeah, so proud of me.
Until the safety car, it was quite a quiet race for you. It was all going on behind you. There were battles going on behind you. Could you see it in your rear view, and were you happy to see them battling behind you?
Yeah, it's not a really good sensation, because when you win the race, you win the race, and you see behind, and you look the whole car behind you. It's really difficult. So yeah, I managed to win these races, and I'm really happy.
Well, congratulations, a very good job. We'll let you get up to the podium and celebrate. Thanks for speaking to us. Our first winner in the GT4s.
Yeah, big congratulations to Lucas Cartel on his first win in GTs. And we can now get a little bit of a look at what happened in that race. We started, of course, under a rolling start in single file after 2 formation laps, and immediately Cartel was on the move from third on the grid, trying to go around the outside of Hugo Back, and he managed to succeed at doing so. Tim Horrell, though, the Pro-Am driver, the bronze-rated driver at the overall front of the field, tried to hold on to the lead side by side into turn 7, but with the inside line and the toe of the Toyota, which had some great straight line speed, he moved into the lead. Lucas Cartel, Tim Horrell and Hugo Back began fighting for second position, and Horrell would remain right there in the wing mirrors of Hugo Back for much of the race. We saw that exchange a couple of times between Ravi Ramyid and Enrico Ferderer as they were dicing it out for 4th overall. There was some good battling further down the field as well. Joachim Bolting, of course, making his way back up the pack after a first lap spin, and this was the move from Enrico Ferderer, using what seems to be a lot of poise through the middle sector to set himself up for a move there at turn 10 on Ravi Ramyid, but Ramyid, of course, would fire back. We were watching this battle between Ramyid and Ferderer. We were watching Hugo Back go at it as well with Tim Horrell. Lots of exciting fights, but unfortunately, Tim Horrell's campaign in the race came to an end with what looked an awful lot like a brake disc exploding in the wheel. An unfortunate conclusion to what had been a brilliant race. The AM lead changing hands just before the safety car came out. That was Joachim Bolting getting past Alexander Zbobrov's for 7th overall and the AM win. The safety car was then brought out to recover Tim Horrell's machine, and we did not get back to full racing conditions. The safety car pulling in at the end to allow Lucas Cartel to cross the line and take the flag at speed. Hugo Back finishing runner-up, Ramyid rounding out the podium. But what a performance it was from Cartel. He'd built almost 10 seconds worth of lead before the safety car came out, so definitely a justified winner in the GT4 Winter Series for Speedy Motorsport in that Toyota, the 5th manufacturer ever to win in this series. Hugo Back in the McLaren Artura GT4 finishing 2nd for Greystone GT. In 3rd place, the Espace Bienvenue car of Ravi Ramyid, the Pro-Am winner. 4th position, Enrico Ferderer for SR Motorsport by Schnitzelbaum. Race Labs Robert Cronin finishing in 5th place in the McLaren Artura, and then the Araujo Competição Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4 in 6th position. WNS Motorsport's Joachim Bolting 7th overall and first among the AM class runners, just about getting that pass in before it was too late on Alexander Bobrovs for the AM class lead. Pavel Savichka in 9th overall and 2nd in the Pro-Am category, ahead of the winning club class car Renault Aruda, the Caterham graduate, moving up and getting an overall top 10 as well as a club class win, ahead of Thilo Goss in 11th, Vili Kuna in 12th place, Luis Aguar in 13th position, ahead of Jose Garcia, the last of our finishers. Unfortunately, Tim Horrell was not able to take the start, and the number 8 car was not able to, or sorry, Tim Horrell didn't reach the finish. The number 8 car did not take the start. Andreas Zemaitis and Roy Schwartz, unfortunately, not able to race. We'll get some word as to whether we'll see them tomorrow, no doubt, but a non-starter in this race. What a drive, though, from Tim Horrell, even though he's off the Pro-Am podium and not a race finisher. Still a laudable performance to be up there and fighting for the overall places. Same applies to Ravi Ramyid. That was the story of this race, and I think it's going to be the story of the weekend. An intermingling of classes. The club class cars getting in amongst it with the Pro-Ams, with the AMs, and in the faster end of the Pro-Am class, I think they're going to be doing some disturbing among the Pro Class runners as well. A great start to the GT4 Winter Series season. Unfortunate to see Tim Horrell there on the flatbed, but we will see that car back out for race number 2 alongside his teammate in the number 30 machine, and that is Fredrik Zabis, the Danish driver graduating from the world of karting. So the light fading already here at Portimão. That was our final race of the broadcast. We'll be back for a double helping of both the GT4 and the GT Winter Series on Sunday. Of course, their third and final races will be pit stop races. An hour for the GT4 Winter Series, 55 minutes for the GT Winter Series, and we'll see that one unfold throughout Sunday. Make sure you join us for that full-length broadcast, a full day of racing among the GTs. Of course, do stay with us to see the podiums. We'll get some more insight from Andy McEwen in just a few moments up there on the podium. He'll get to pick some of the brains of our class winners. I suspect Ravi Ramid will be understated as always, in spite of his great performance in that race. And what a great start to the collaboration with the French Racetivity race preparation squad, and indeed L'Espace Bienvenu, the French BMW dealership group that puts their name to that entry. I think there will be a lot of positives for a lot of teams from that race, and I think Hugo Bach will be among the happy drivers as well, because yesterday he had his accident. The team had to get the car repaired, and they've managed to get a second place overall as their reward. Going into Sunday, we've got some very interesting stories to tell, I think, in the GT4 grid. Chief among them, Mattis Plushkel in the old Aston Martin Vantage GT4, the BWT Muka Motorsport car. He's actually starting 4th on the grid for tomorrow's race. The wet qualifying playing into the hands of the young German in the slightly older vintage GT4 machine in the club class. And it's great to see the 570S and the V8 Vantage in amongst the modern cars. We don't see that very often outside the GT4 Winter Series, and the cars are still clearly quite capable. Let's go down to Andy McEwen. He has our drivers ready to go.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yes, our second and final podium of the day, and it is the GT4 Winter Series. We'll start with the club category. 3 drivers to welcome onto the podium, and we start with our third place finisher, Luis Aguiar. Congratulations, Luis. The Zone Racing driver heads to the third step of the podium to be joined by our class runner-up. Second place in club class, Tilo Goss. Tilo makes the familiar journey to the podium. It's the second step only today, though, because the victory in the club class goes to Breno Arruda. Breno gets a great reception from the crowd of team members down below and heads to the top step of the podium. We'll have a quick chat with Breno in a moment or two, but he will celebrate the race victory. The trophies now head out, and we've got Luigi Premuda from Pirelli here on hand to give the winner's trophy out for each category. So Breno Arruda, the first to receive a handshake from the man from Pirelli. And trophy held aloft for Breno Arruda, who celebrates a win in the club class in the first race of the GT4 Winter Series. Let's, they're just going to get their photos taken on the top step of the podium. And that rain that was threatened never did arrive, did it? So pretty good conditions in the end for the drivers. Breno, we're going to try and have a chat with you if that's all right. And come down, Breno. We'll talk to our race winner in the club class. Congratulations. Happy with that result?
Yeah, of course. I didn't expect that. So it was a good race.
And what were the conditions like? Because it was still a little wet?
Yeah, a little bit, just in some points, but it's okay.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations. Well done on the club class victory. Breno Arruda for Zone Racing then gets the winner's trophy in the club class, and he is very happy with that. We move on to the AM category, and we'll introduce first our third place finisher, Jose Garcia. Well done, Jose. The Spaniard heads to the third step of the podium. Second position in the AM class after that late change of lead was Alexander Bobrovs, who has wrapped up nice and warm in a Team VRT jacket, and he heads to the second step of the podium. What a fight back it was, though. It's another win in the AM class for Joachim Balting. Congratulations, Joachim. Made things a little bit tricky for himself in that one, coming through from the back after that early spin, but managed to just about grab the lead, and in very timely fashion, really, with that safety car coming out quite late in the race. He potentially might have run out of time, but just got there before the safety car intervention. So, as the trophies are held aloft, again, photos taken, then Joachim Balting for WNS Motorsport celebrates a win in the AM class. Joachim is always good for a chat, and I look forward to hearing exactly what happened. I don't think we ever saw what happened to Joachim Balting in that race, so now is our chance to find out. Joachim, can we have a chat down here, please? So, that was an interesting race. What happened at the start?
I wanted to do too much at the first corner and I made a mistake. I spun and excuse me, I touched another car, but after that it went in the right direction.
You nearly ran out of time, of course, because of the late safety car. You just got back there in time. Were you confident that you had the pace to do that?
I think so, because at the practice it was everything fine, and also in the qualifying, but we have a gearbox problem in the qualifying. That was the reason why I couldn't finish the second qualifying. And this was now a spare car. First time that I had been driven this, but it's perfect done by the team.
Fantastic. Well done, Jürgen. Congratulations, Jürgen Bolting, on the win in the AM class. A fighting drive, as we've come to expect from Jürgen, who jogs down the steps to celebrate with the team. So, 2 more podium presentations to do. The Pro-Am class is up next. 3rd place for SR Motorsport by Schnitzelau, Willi Kuhn. Well done, onto the top step of the podium. He will, at the 3rd step, sorry, of the podium, he will head. 2nd position for the Blue Garage Racing driver, Pavel Savichka. Well done, 2nd place for Pavel. But it is a race victory in the Pro-Am class. Another fighting drive, some really impressive pace from our race winner, Ravi Ramyid. Out he goes with a big smile on his face, and Ravi continues this fantastic form that he's had over the last 12 months or so. Said that he felt really race ready at the end of the Winter Series last year. That propelled him to a brilliant campaign in British GT, and he continues that form into 2026 with a class win and a brilliant result overall in the GT4 Winter Series season opener. So Ravi, along with Willi and Pavel, will gather together on the top step of the podium. And the, as always, beautiful trophies that we have in Winter Series are held aloft for the cameras, not only on the podium but down below as well. And before he runs off, let's have a chat with Ravi, if that's okay. Do you want to wander over this way, Ravi? Well, congratulations. Great class victory. Little bit of good fortune in there, but you were on the pace from the start.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, we got away okay, and McLaren defended and I got away from him. And then Enrico caught me on a good scrap with him. That was really entertaining. And when the safety car came out, I thought I'm going to have a very angry Enrico up my arse for the next 6 minutes. But thankfully, we ended up the safety car. But no, you want to win clean and fair. It's a shame Tim's car didn't finish. I would have liked to have a really good scrap with him. They do need to slow the Porsches down a little bit first, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I sort of expected something like that from you there, Ravi. Congratulations, though. Well done on the class win. Ravi Ramyid, the winner in the Pro-Am class. And we now welcome our Pro top 3 finishers. We start then with a man who, as we heard there, had a great scrap with Ravi Ramyid in that race. It's 3rd place in the Pro class for Enrico Ferreira. Out comes Enrico, punches the air a little bit gently, but then it was a 3rd place finish. He'll be gunning for the top step tomorrow, I'm sure. 2nd position after a great defensive drive, Hugo Back. And Hugo gets a big cheer from the team down below. The Greystone GT driver hops up onto the 2nd step of the podium. It was, though, a first ever win in GT4 Winter Series for a Toyota. It was Speedy Motorsport who claimed the win, courtesy of Lucas Cartel. And he is very happy with that race win. Lucas heads out on to the podium, and he will climb to the top step as he celebrates the race victory. So podium trophies, are handed out, with Luigi Premuda from Pirelli handing out the winner's trophy. And celebrations will begin then here after an entertaining first day of racing at Portimão. The GT4 Winter Series and the GT Winter Series, of course, both in action again tomorrow with a pair of races apiece. And one of those races, of course, will include the mandatory pit stops, and for the 2 driver entries, driver changes as well. That always adds an extra level of strategy into the racing. And you'll want to make sure that you tune in tomorrow to enjoy another day of action here from Portimão. We're expecting slightly nicer conditions tomorrow as well. That rain that swept through this morning hopefully won't be too much of a factor tomorrow, and I'm sure that will be a relief to the drivers, who will be looking forward to getting plenty of dry running in on day 2 of this GT Winter Series season opener. So lots to reflect on at the end of this first day of competition. And as drivers now start to begin their celebrations, the teams, of course, have to start their preparations for tomorrow. For some teams, there are repair works to be done. For others, perhaps a few setup tweaks to be made to make their drivers as happy and comfortable as possible before the two races tomorrow. And it's going to be interesting to see whether the form continues into tomorrow or whether we maybe get a new set of winners on day 2. Right then, Izzy Browning is down in the pit lane now, ready to give us her thoughts on the end of an entertaining first day.
Well, there you have it, day 1 done and dusted in the 2026 Winter Series, and it did not disappoint. There was drama, there were battles all the way up and down the field, and as we could expect, lots of great racing. And the best part is that the action continues tomorrow. Plenty more racing coming up in both the GT Winter Series and the GT4 Winter Series, so make sure you join us. We are live from 8:50 local time. We'll see you then.
We are racing in the Formula Winter Series for the second weekend. 1.3 seconds in it does get a mighty run outside of the final corner. Danny Sufi loses it into the first corner. We are underway and racing in the GT Winter Series, but already